My name is Jackson Healy, but most people call me Jack. I can't believe I've been standing in my bedroom doorway for almost 10 minutes now, watching my wife Dakota have sex with some guy I've never seen before. I had enough time to record the event on my iPhone. I was able to take some great pictures. The two lovebirds still didn't notice me, and judging by what was happening on my side of the bed, I had plenty of time to take some more notes. But honestly, it was getting a little repetitive. When I thought about it for a minute, the guy seemed familiar. Maybe because he was very similar to me. That is, he was no younger, no taller, or in better shape than me. Brown hair, blue eyes, 10 fingers, and 10 toes, just like me. I think you get the point. So what was the appeal? I think the attraction was that the guy she was having sex with wasn't me. I know it's the cliche of cliches, but I returned home a day early from a business trip to find the ever-present strange car in the driveway that led me to this moment. This was another thing that bothered me. Why did my wife make her lover park his car in the middle of our driveway? We live in a house located on a cul-de-sac with 12 other houses. We were a fairly friendly group like most residents of such areas. Was she not worried that someone would find out about her cheating? Finding your wife in your bed with another man is, of course, a shock. But honestly, what hurt the most was that in our 18 years of marriage, Dakota had never, and I mean never, come close to the sexual behavior I had seen her exhibit. Our sex life was pretty vanilla, but satisfying. At least that's what I always thought until a few minutes ago. She never even hinted that she wanted sex like this. Obviously, she liked it too. I can honestly say that in all the years that I have known her, she has never once said such words in lust or any other situation. I didn't even know she knew those words. I was also not the recipient of any of the other words of encouragement she had been passionately growling into her lover's ear for the past 10 minutes. The strangest thing was that I did not feel purple anger. I had no desire to grab a gun and shoot them both, or take out one of my daughter's aluminum softball bats and beat them with it. Of course, I was angry, sad, hurt, and confused, as probably any husband in my situation would be. I think the lack of rage was because I had simply accepted that my marriage was over. How else? In time, I'd probably like to know why, but right now it didn't matter. She did it, and it ended our marriage. Case closed. End of story. While wondering what to do next, I noticed that there was an unopened box of Trojans on Dakota's nightstand. Why the hell have rubber bands if you're not going to use them? After we had two daughters, Sheridan, 13, and Helena, 11, Dakota made me wear them until I had a vasectomy. She said 2 kids was all we needed, but I was hoping to try for a son. I have always regretted that I had not been more assertive on this issue. That's when I noticed something was missing. For as long as I can remember, Dakota had 4 photographs on her nightstand. I called it her shrine. And now, 2 of them were nowhere to be seen. The biggest one was a family portrait we had professionally done when the girls were very little. He was gone, and neither was our wedding photo. I never thought much of it, but our wedding photo was the smallest of the 4. I may have to reconsider this opinion. However, she left photographs of our daughters in a prominent place for her lover. What kind of nonsense is this? There was nothing special about them. I think they were just baby pictures she framed years ago. I think these were photos of them from kindergarten. Don't think that the question of where the photographs went was very important now. Maybe I had a shock or some kind of out-of-body experience, but for me, this question became the most pressing. After some thought, I realized exactly where they should be. They should have been in her second drawer. Simply must be. An expensive Drexel Heritage chest of drawers that I sat comfortably next to. I quietly opened the drawer, and sure enough, there they were. How did I know they would be there? Following what I always thought was an unusual habit, Dakota cleaned the house on the day on which cleaning was scheduled. She did this just before the cleaners arrived. In this box, she put everything that was lying around, idle or did not have a permanent place. One day I asked her if she thought the cleaners would steal her hairbrush. She gave me a look that looked like, "You're driving me crazy." I thought it was just her. But one day at a neighbor's party, in a friendly attempt to embarrass her for this strange habit in front of her girlfriends, I lovingly told several of them about her practice. Instead of giggling with me and teasing her, they just looked at me like I was the dumbest person on the planet. Of course, you clean the house before the cleaners arrive. Another thought struck me. Maybe by hiding the photos, she was trying to show me some respect. Somehow, given the circumstances, this is very difficult to believe. Maybe her boyfriend insisted on this? Not knowing exactly why, I carefully and quietly removed the photographs from the drawer. I decided it was time to leave. With 2 photographs in hand, I slipped out of the house. Since it was only 3 o'clock, I decided to stop by work. I had been gone for several days, and there was no doubt a stack of meaningless papers on my desk that needed to be sorted through. I arrived and immediately slipped into my office. Surely several colleagues somehow noted my presence, but I did not hear a single greeting. I was focused on locking myself in my office to the exclusion of everything and everyone else. I closed the door behind me. First, I put the 2 photos I disappeared with on my desk to remind me of, well, I don't know exactly what, but I did it anyway. Gathering my courage, I called my longtime friend Ennis H. Dixon. He was a family lawyer, but I once knew this playboy as a snobby rich kid. We were roommates in college. One day I asked him why a rich guy like him lived in a hostel with us poor people. He replied that his parents wanted him to associate with people who were below him in social status, so that he understands why he is lucky to be rich. He insisted that I call him Ennis H. When I told him I thought that was a bit pretentious, he simply replied, "Well, that's who I am." Ennis H. Dixon must have moved on in his world, because when I called him, I had to go through 3 subordinates to get to him. That's right, I had to call his office because he refused to give me his cell number. He said his cell phone is for clients only because it makes it easier to track his billable hours. It seemed like it never occurred to him to use 2 phones. I thought all pretentious idiots had at least 2. "Jackson, good to hear from you. How can I help you?" He never called me Jack just to annoy me. "I need your cell phone number, Ennis." Oh crap, what happened? And I told him everything. As far as I know, they're still doing it in my bed right now. Oh damn, this is really evil, man. What do you want to do? Divorce, simple and clear. Except I want her and her lover to feel pain. Well, buddy, you're lucky for 2 reasons. First, I am the best family law attorney in the state. And secondly, you don't live in one of those stupid no-fault states. I'm sure you want primary custody, but I have to say it's not easy. It's not impossible, but it's not easy either. Another thing you need to understand is that even if we prove adultery, she will most likely receive alimony from you. She is a housewife and you earn a lot of money. So even in the guilty state, you can get a good fuck. Let me do this. I'm going to set my investigators on Dakota and her lover. It will be expensive, but if you want custody, we'll need more than just the fact that she had sex with him in your bed. We must know everything about her lover and their affair. Do it. I don't care about the price. You should never say that to a lawyer, Jackson. He must have heard my breath catch in my throat because he paused and became serious. Sorry, Jackson. I didn't mean to take this lightly. I don't want you to apologize, Ennis. I want you to be ruthless. I can be ruthless. This may take several weeks. And for this, I need you to behave normally around your wife for a while. You can do it? Yes. I provided him with the information he needed and emailed him the evidence I had. He sent me a prepayment form. I signed up for DocuSign while we were still on the phone and returned it. I went offline as a much more depressed but determined person. A knock on the door brought me out of my state of self-pity. Come in. My administrative assistant, Franny Graybull, entered hesitantly. Is everything okay, boss? She asked timidly. Yes, Franny. Everything is great. I finished my work early and decided to return home. I know, Jack, but when you brushed past me without returning my greeting or even nodding in acknowledgement, I got worried. Not to mention you've been here for over an hour. Sorry, Franny. I just have a lot on my plate. Franny Graybull has been my assistant for over 15 years. I hired her at the request of my wife. She was an old friend of Dakota's who had fallen on hard times. Franny's husband died in a work accident. He was a military man, but he was a non-combatant, so he only had a life insurance policy for $12,000. If he had died in a work hazard, Franny would have received another $100,000. And with 2 children, $12,000 was not so much. It was hard for her. But I never regretted hiring her because she turned out to be a truly competent administrative assistant. Hey, okay, Jack, I guess I'll go home. I'm sure she wasn't convinced. She knew me too well. As she was about to leave, she noticed the photographs on her desk and stopped for a moment. What are these new ones? Yes, I decided to bring them here so I can look at them and remind myself why I'm doing this and what's important to me. Oh, that's so nice, boss. Have a nice evening. Bye, Franny. I was going to say something to her because I trusted her with my life, but at the last second I remembered what Ennis said about acting normal and left it as is. How can you behave normally if just a couple of hours ago you saw your wife having sex with someone else on your bed? I knew that going to the hotel would not work. Too many people had already seen me, so I decided that I had better go home. During the 20-minute drive home, my thoughts were working overtime. I kept trying to figure out how to behave normally. I still had no idea how to do this when I pulled up to my garage. Dakota apparently heard my car pull into the garage. She met me at the garage door. I saw several emotions in her eyes: fear, anxiety, and a little anger, all rolled into one. They disappeared as quickly as they appeared. She gave me her best smile. "Oh my God, Jack, you're home. We were waiting for you only tomorrow? I thought I would surprise you. I arrived around 3 and just decided to finish the day at the office." "Well, we're glad you're home, honey." She kissed me on the cheek. "Dinner will be ready in a few minutes, but there's not much there since I wasn't expecting you." "It's okay. I still don't feel very hungry. I'll change out of this suit. It feels like I've been wearing it for weeks." And I started going up the stairs. At that moment, the girls caught up with me. They hugged me, squealing and laughing. "We're so glad you're home. We love you, Daddy." "I love you guys too. I miss you so much when I go on these trips. At least I'll have them," I thought to myself. Their greeting gave me courage and directed me in the right direction. I knew I could handle the deception, if only for their benefit. Freed from the little monsters, I continued towards what used to be my bedroom. I don't know what I expected to see, but everything looked normal. The bed linen smelled fresh, the room was clean, but it was unremarkable. Our bedroom was always untouched. Now I understand why this was so. She probably noticed how I was looking at her bedside table in a trance. The 2 photos were the only thing that was inappropriate. I was trying to control my emotions when her voice startled me. "Sorry, honey. I accidentally broke the frames while cleaning. I took them to Aaron Bros to have them restored." I just nodded my head in understanding without looking at her and continued to change my clothes. At some point she left. Oh, and in case you were wondering, she smelled fresh, like a daisy, just like every day I came home. My acting skills weren't the best because Dakota was nervous as a cat throughout dinner and the rest of the evening. I was able to mostly avoid her by spending time with the girls, helping them with their homework. At dinner, which usually took place in a very noisy and cheerful atmosphere, it was terribly quiet. I know the girls suspected something was wrong, but they didn't press it. Dakota, in turn, simply looked at me with an expression on her face that was an unreadable mask. If I was going to pretend to be normal like Ennis wanted, I needed to do a lot better. After the girls settled in for the night, I poured myself a glass of Maker's Mark and lounged in my worn office chair. She called it the man cave. It was the only room in the house that I could call my own. She reflected my tastes. I called her warm, inviting, and comfortable. Dakota called her an embarrassment. I knew that I would have to meet her before bed and was wondering how best to do this when Dakota solved this dilemma for me. She came in looking worried, stretching her hands. Under normal circumstances, Dakota would have avoided my room like the plague. She walked towards the sofa opposite my chair. "Here, little bunny, sit on my lap," I said as lightly as I could, and he patted his knees. Her face brightened, she quickly jumped off the couch and plopped down on my lap. I quickly kissed her on the cheek. "I'm sorry, I was so useless at dinner. My trip didn't go as planned and I have a lot of things to get in order, so I took a break." She perked up noticeably. "It's okay, Jack. I knew something was bothering you. If you give me a chance, then tonight I will make you forget about all your work problems." But the thing is, she didn't make me forget about my problems. Oh, we made good love. And it was the same gentle copulation as always. We always snuggled a lot, and there were signs of satisfaction on both sides. I thought that was what she wanted. It was completely different from what I had seen before. Dakota hugged me tightly and said, "You know I love you, Jack. I really do. You made my life complete." I almost threw up on the spot. How could she do this? How can a person change so easily? Her lies and deceit rolled off her tongue as if she were reciting a cliché recipe. I myself found the answer to my question. Because she has been doing this for a long time, that's how. This newfound knowledge sent a chill down my spine and a heaviness settled on my chest. A few moments later, I heard her rhythmic breathing, indicating that she was already asleep. Less than 8 hours have passed since she fooled around with her lover in this very bed, and she falls asleep with the snap of her fingers. What kind of person is capable of this? Needless to say, I didn't sleep a wink. I managed to pull myself together to go to work early in the morning. I needed to get out of there before Dakota got up to get the girls ready for school. I left her a short note on the dry erase board in the kitchen that we regularly used for this purpose. I had to leave early for work to start solving the problems I told you about. Somehow, I managed to act quite normally for the next 2 weeks. As the days passed, waiting for news from Ennis, I began to feel better. Maybe this is how liars become good liars and hide their deeds, just by giving them enough time to practice. Dakota, on the contrary, became more and more anxious. She looked like someone who had a lot on her mind, but she never really said anything to me. She was always affectionate, but seemed to go out of her way to be sensitive. She probably confessed her love to me 25 times a day. She even complimented me on the way I dressed. She should have been alarmed by the missing photos. I mean, they didn't disappear on their own. But for now, she stuck to the principle, do not ask, do not tell. I hoped this would continue for some time. Franny was also acting strange, probably because she knew me so well that she could detect the slightest changes in my mood and behavior. She continued to insist, driving me to the point of irritation, that I talk about it, but I remained silent. I just told her that I was under pressure at work and that I would be fine. She always knew when I was lying. What also bothered me was that she kept staring at the photographs on my desk. What's the big deal? I have long come to terms with the fact that I am not a very good judge of a woman's mood. I couldn't tell if Franny was sad, worried, or angry, but every time she left my office after looking at the photos, I saw this strange expression on her face. I think women are better at this than men. I seriously began to question my sanity. I didn't feel any of the emotions I thought I should feel. I was just starting to feel dead inside. Every waking moment I felt like there was a 50-pound weight sitting on my chest, making it difficult to breathe. I pretended to live. I needed this nightmare to end quickly. At that moment, Ennis called me and asked me to urgently come to his office. Yes, we took them by the throat. But here's the hard part, Jackson. I need you to brace yourself for impact. She dated Mr. Du Bois a long, long time ago, even before you were married. According to my information, he bragged about having sex with Dakota on the morning of your wedding, a few hours before the ceremony. According to Dubois, Dakota told him she was going to give you sloppy seconds on your wedding night. I should have gone berserk and become a murderer, but all I could think was to say, how did your investigators find out about this? It's better if you don't know, Jackson. Much of the really good stuff we won't be able to use in court anyway. And if I weren't such a good lawyer, we might even get into trouble because of this. He laughed out loud at his attempt at humor. Damn it, kids. I wonder if they are mine. From his look, I realized that there was still a lot of bad news ahead. That's not all, is it? Holy shit, Ennis, maybe she's married to him too. You know, one of those people who leads 2 different lives with 2 different families. A bigamist, I think. Oh, Dubois is married, but not to your wife. He has his own family. He has been married for 10 years and has 3 children. all under 8 years of age. Setting his ass on fire will be easy if you're willing to do it. I don't know, Ennis. I don't want to ruin the life of his wife and children. Well, Jackson, I think you'll be doing his wife and kids a favor. If you watch and listen to the video of Dakota and him, you will see that he is practically tearing you and his wife to pieces. Dakota doesn't really join him in all these conversations, but she doesn't shut him out either. Basically, my people got information that he only married his wife because Dakota didn't want to divorce you to be with him. Ennis, given everything you've learned, why does she want to stay married to me? We haven't figured that one out yet, buddy, but we're working on it. Just give us time, buddy. I can't control myself anymore. When can we serve her? In the very near future, Jackson, but I'm working on something that's worth the wait. Life went on. Dakota was very affectionate. She made the girls behave on their best behavior, and we made love a little more often than before. However, nothing has changed in the manner of our lovemaking. She always looked very happy. I didn't think she was such a good actress that she could pretend to be satisfied all these years. This made her betrayal even more alarming. I was just driving myself crazy, going around in circles, trying to understand her actions. How can she say that and still cheat on me? So I decided it would be better if I faked it myself until I was done with it. What the hell was Ennis waiting for anyway? The following Monday, he called me and asked me to come to his office again. Ennis was one of those people who would make jokes on his deathbed. He never took anything seriously, but looking at him now, I thought he was about to get physically ill. He simply nodded his head slowly. Look, Jack, I'm not really sure how to tell you this, but it might change your perspective on custody. They're not mine, are they? We won't know for sure until we do a DNA test, but no, I don't think they're yours. But this is even worse. How much worse can it get, Ennis? If they are not biologically mine. They know, Jack. What the hell are you talking about? I interrupted sharply. The girls know that Dubois is their own father. My people got video footage of the 4 of them. Dubois, Dakota, and the girls, having a picnic together in the park last Sunday. They called him Dad. He and your wife held hands, kissed and played games with Sheridan and Helena. At that moment, everything went dark. When I came to my senses a few minutes later, I remembered Dakota telling me while I was cleaning the lawn last Sunday that she was going to take the girls to the park. The next thing I knew, Paralegal Ennis was pressing a cold, wet towel to my forehead, and I heard him calling my name. Jackson, what happened to you? You're unconscious. Let me call the paramedics. No, I'll be fine. I shook my head, trying to restore blood flow to the brain. Sorry about that, Ennis. God, it's like my whole life has been a scam. Buddy, you just said the magic word. What word? Fraud. I was thinking that you are a nicer person than me, but if I were you, I would want to really take revenge. I wouldn't be satisfied with warning his wife and divorcing Dakota. I think I will find a way to do this. Did you know that a marriage can be annulled for fraud? We've been married for 18 years, Ennis. How the hell can I have an annulment? In our state, if the marriage was concluded by fraud, the period does not matter. You simply must apply within 4 years of discovering the fraud. I won't blow smoke up your ass. It won't be easy, but it's probably worth a try. If you can get an annulment, you will not have to pay any alimony. You probably won't have to pay child support anyway, but you may, depending on what the judge decides. What? You can't be serious. Child support? Unless we can prove that Dakota and Dubois deliberately and deceived you into raising Dubois' children, there's a chance you'll be stuck. But in fact, this is not the reason I propose to annul the decision. If we file for divorce, your case won't get publicity. But if we file for an annulment after 18 years of marriage, I bet the tabloids and news outlets will write about it. We will publicly shame them both. This will also make our case for the return of child support more feasible. And here I can get my 40%. I can even give you a 5% discount. Plus, you'll get the ruthlessness you asked for. Your generosity is touching, Ennis. She catches me here. I tap my heart. That's not all, Jack. We found some more interesting facts. I listened to everything he had to say, and we began to make plans and say goodbye. By that time, nothing shocked me anymore. When I returned to the office, Franny ambushed me. "Jack, what happened to you? You look like death warmed over. I'll take you to the doctor right now." "No, Franny, but Jack, I said this would be the end of it, Miss Grable." She was shocked by my tone, but reluctantly left. She looked incredibly depressed. I didn't care because I had already been enlightened in Ennis's office. I expected this, and I was not disappointed. Not even 30 minutes had passed after I released Franny when the slender figure of Dakota appeared in the doorway. She was clearly braceless, wearing 4-inch heels and cleavage down to her navel. Crap, she was pretty. What a loss. Franny called me. She said something happened. I snorted sarcastically, interrupting her. I tried, without much success, to maintain my composure. I was trying to formulate a cognitive response when I realized she was looking at photographs. She looked for them as if she knew where they should be. She took a deep breath and sat down on one of the chairs in front of my desk. She wasn't wearing any panties either. Does she really think this will help? "You were there. You saw us." She looked sad, but her words were spoken with only a slight sense of despondency, mostly in a normal manner. Either way, they cut me to the core. "It doesn't mean anything, Jack. It's just a fling. It doesn't compare to what we have together. Tell me something, Dakota. I know it wasn't the first time." "How long ago?" "No, not the first time, honey, but it only lasts a couple of months." She spoke almost sincerely. "2 months. How many times?" "Only 3 or 4 times, baby, I think. And never before in our house." I screwed up. It's over. Let's just forget about it. The lie rolled off her tongue without the slightest hint of guilt. She didn't sweat or clench her hands. She didn't look away, didn't even blink. She simply lied, looking me straight in the eye. I realized that she did not intend to give up her boyfriend. "Thank you for being honest with me, Dakota. I think most cheaters would just lie and say it was the first time, like drunkards who say, 'Honestly, officer, I only drank 2 glasses.' But you told me the truth. You gave me the opportunity to look into your soul and see who you really are, and I appreciate it. I had what I hoped was a friendly expression on my face. I noticed only a slight trembling of her eyelids at my last statement, but nothing more. However, she must have sensed something in my expression. Don't do this, Jack. It won't end well for you. You will be hurt in ways you can't even imagine. There is no need for this. Just leave it, and let's move on with our lives as we are. I love you, you love me, and we both love girls. Please just leave it." It almost sounds like you're threatening me, Dakota. "Oh, honey, I'm sorry if it sounded like that. That's not what I meant at all. What I meant was that you control how much you let my failures hurt you, hurt us. But most of all, Jack, it will hurt Helena and Sheridan. They didn't do anything wrong. I did it. Please, let's talk more about this when you get home tonight. I know I can understand you." "Okay, we'll talk about this in the evening. But now I really need to get back to work." She came up to me and planted a hot kiss on my lips. Maybe she mistook me for her boyfriend. "We are so good together, baby. Don't let my weakness destroy our family." She turned and smoothly walked out the door, as if she had nothing to do with it. I was so shocked that I sat there in wide-eyed stupor for about 5 minutes before I pressed the intercom button. "Miss Grable, please come in." "How long have you known Miss Grable?" "You told her about the photographs, didn't you?" Silence. She wiped her eyes with a handkerchief, sitting in a chair and looking down. "I look forward to hearing from you." She looked up. "So, I'm Miss Grable now, Jack, after all these years?" "Yes, and for now, I'm Mr. Healy. Are you going to fire me, Mr. Healy? You know that I really need this job." Now she was openly sobbing. "Not if I get a truthful answer from you and you agree to testify under oath to my lawyer. What's your option?" "I've known for a long time." I reached out in disgust and picked up the office phone. "Hi, Georgina. I need to talk to William about a problem." William Bill. Cody was vice president of human resources. Franny interrupted me. "Please don't do this. I'm so sorry, Mr. Healy. I knew about this even before you hired me." "What did you know, Miss Grable?" She returned to her ambiguity. I slammed my palm hard on the table. There was a loud bang, almost like a shot. She jumped in surprise. I'm losing patience. You know about her, well, about her activities. I'm tired of these games, Miss Grable. I'm tired of asking questions. Tell me a story, now. I saw her trying to decide whether to tell me the whole truth. I won't accept anything but the complete truth, Franny. I deliberately softened my voice and my attitude. Please, Franny, you owe me this at least for helping you. I'm trying to understand why you betrayed me like this. It took her a few moments to pull herself together. She was close to hyperventilating. Then she told me everything. Byron Dubois was her maternal cousin. She knew about his relationship with Dakota, which began in high school. And she knew that Helena and Sheridan were not my children, and that in fact Dubois fathering the girls was a deliberate act. It went on, each revelation being another dagger in my heart. But these knives were not only because of my now evaporated love for Dakota. These were daggers from Franny's betrayal. For some reason, now the betrayal hurts her more. I trusted you completely, Franny. Now I was emotional. Why was Dakota so desperate for me to hire you? To look after you? She wanted me to let her know if you got any closer to finding out about her other life. She lowered her head, as if embarrassed. Is she embarrassed now? She also wanted me to let her know if you ever cheated on her. Her voice was nothing more than a whisper. Oh, for God's sake. I don't know if you can help me, Franny, but do you have any idea why she wanted to marry me in the first place? Not to mention that she was just here confessing her unconditional love for me and begging for us to stay married. You won't believe it, but she really loves you. I chuckled sardonically. Yes, it would be difficult to sell now. It's true, Mr. Healy. I asked her this question myself many years ago. She told me she really loves you, but she needs Dubois. And that's all? She ruined my life because she wanted your cousin? I exclaimed. I was shocked, and Franny shook her head even more. Why children, Franny? Mr. Healy. I simply pointed my index finger at her, letting her know to continue. Are you sure you want to know? It will be even worse than you can imagine. People tell me this all the time. How much worse can it get, Franny? I use this term often, and it made me feel worse every time. This time was no exception. Her tears stopped. She looked at me with pity, but I knew that she would not lie or even hide anything from me. I had to find out the honest truth. Dakota told me that she asked Byron to get her pregnant so that her children would be born from an alpha male. At this point, she paused and looked at me, gauging my reaction. I guess that means I'm a beta? Yes, she wanted the children to have what she called alpha bloodlines, but she wanted the betas, that is you, to raise them to be kind and compassionate. She knew that in the long run, your character would be better suited to raising her children, and Byron agreed with her. She also told me that she needs both an alpha and a beta to live fully. I couldn't help myself and started laughing uncontrollably. It was too ridiculous. I let Franny go after telling her that I was going to make an appointment for her to see Ennis, and that I expect the whole truth from her. She just nodded her head in understanding and headed towards the door. She stopped and turned to me. What do you want me to tell Dakota, Mr. Healy? You can call him Jack, Franny. I really don't care what you tell her. It doesn't matter anymore. Good night. Wait, not that I care, but do you think I'm a beta? She started crying again. Yes, but it's not bad. That's all, Miss Grable. She sobbed, turned, and hurriedly left, closing the door behind her. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I wasn't going home. I took the chance that my friend Butch was still in the office and called her. I was lucky and went to her office. I have to tell you about Butch. Her name is actually Cheyenne Gillette, and she is the Director of Information Technology. She is a retired U.S. Navy commander. Rumor has it that, as a young woman, she became the first woman to qualify for the Buds Naval School. But due to a torn knee, her chances were dashed. She is tough as nails and doesn't get close to anyone at work. She is a committed lesbian and proud of it. She doesn't like being called a lesbian, although one day she told me, if you're going to call me lesbian, make sure you capitalize L, but I prefer queer as long as you smile when you say it. I didn't pretend to understand any of this, but I was her friend, pretty much the only one she had at work. This happened because one day I saw some Neanderthal accosting her outside the break room. When she had enough, she physically pushed him away in an attempt to get away from him. Now I have a policy of live and let live. At least that's what I used to stick to when it came to people's choices and preferences. This asshole crossed the line, and in my opinion, he definitely deserved it and more. When she looked at me, all the color disappeared from her face. She realized that she could be in deep shit. A company director pushing an employee is usually frowned upon unless you are related to the owner. I calmly said, "You know, Miss Gillette, he shouldn't have pushed you like that. Are you okay?"